They'll see you.
Okay. So it's been a little while since I've been in Panema, and it's always a pleasure to come out to Lakewood. I have a new motivation, which is I'm going to take this off. Since I last came here, my son got married, Baruch Hashem, thank you, and he moved to Lakewood. So whenever I come to Panema, that means he gets to go out to eat with his wife. So he thanks you from upper crust. Okay. The topic that we're going to speak about tonight is really a very Jewish and complex topic. And you'll see what I mean by Jewish and complex. There are many topics that we can speak about that the non-Jewish world can relate to. This particular concept and how we deal with it is very uniquely Jewish. And I want to start off by saying that we had a lot of guests this Shabbos. Baruch Hashem, we do every Shabbos. We had about 80, 85 guests who came. They slept over. It was Lebedik. And when they sleep over, so we rely on the fact that our basement holds 20. And what we do is we put mattresses on the floor because not enough room for beds, but we can fit more people with mattresses. And it's a little party, and that's how people enjoy Shabbos. We also happen to have a group of college students who were by us the entire week this past week. And we were showing them around New York, giving them shiurim in the morning, doing like a New York trip, inspirational, and they joined us for the Shabbos. And Friday morning, I gave them a nice shiur. They were about to go to Evergreen to watch and witness Jewish frantic shopping before Shabbos, when one of the girls, it was a group mainly of girls, who came upstairs, and they said, "Rabbi, we think there's a flood in your basement." Now, this is a disaster for so many different reasons. First off, we have to fit 20 beds there. Secondly, if there's a flood, all the mattresses sit on the floor. And you know what, when you have soaking mattresses, it smells and you can't use them. And you have to find out where it's coming from. And it was raining, and it was coming from underneath the ground. That hadn't happened before. All in all, it was bad news. To the credit of these students, they kept their cool. A lot of their clothing had gotten messed up. They said, "It's okay, we'll put it in the laundry." But it occurred to me how dramatically different the weather was that Friday than it was the beginning of the week. If you remember the week before, we were hitting record lows. It was so cold. I don't know what it was like here, but in Muncie, it was so ridiculously cold, and I wasn't even in Muncie. My wife was. I was in Cleveland running a Shabbat.com, and they put me not in the hotel, but they put me a 7-minute walk away. They asked my permission. They said, "You're the speaker, but we have a limited amount of rooms. Can we put you in a bread and breakfast nearby?" And I said yes, and that was a few months before, and I didn't know it would be minus 20 with wind chill. By the time I reached the end of the driveway, I couldn't feel my legs. So look at this. We were reduced to nothing by the koach of Hashem. We say the words in davening, Mashle kacha kefisim, lifnei karosai miyamai. Who can stand in front of Hashem's cold? Hashem decides, I'm going to make it cold. He can make it very, very cold. I'm going to make a flood in your basement. You think you're running a Shabbaton? You're going to be mopping up and cleaning up and figuring out mattresses, and we have to find an extra 20 places for people to stay. Today, you came outside, it was this weird kind of a snow, but it was heavy because it was slushy, and I put on my windshield and it stopped in the middle and I thought I burned out my motor. And then in the middle of the week this week, it had gotten like up to 50. And we realize how shvach we are in the grand scheme of this world that we live in. We're so unpredictable. You know, in England, there is London syndrome that comes from the fact that it rains so often that people get depressed. They get I know my mom's from London. She grew up in Golders Green, and you get depressed. You go around. There's rain, and you don't feel yourself. And whenever we feel like Ba'alei Gaiva, like when the weather is good, and we just feel like we run the world, all of a sudden things can change like that, and your basement's flooded, and you're scrambling to make do. You know, when Yosef HaTzadik was inside of the prison guard did not make him stay in the prison. And Chazal say the reason that the guard was so impressed was because every word that he said, Im Yirtzeh Hashem, Baruch Hashem, Be'ez Hashem, Shem Hashem, Shkura B'fiv, the name of Hashem, Hashem, I give you koyach, I give you credit. And believe me, he found out the story. I don't know how, but he knew, Yosef, how did you end up in prison? How did you end up? You don't even sound Egyptian. Your brothers, aren't you angry at God? No. For whatever reason, Hashem wanted it like that. I had to end up in Mitzrayim. And later on, he said the same thing to his brothers. They were so worried he's going to be upset now. Hashem wanted me. It's Hashem. Hashem wants it. It comes from Hashem. We don't have individual koyach. Our lives kitzel oiver, ka'anon peireach, like a cloud, like a shadow. And Hashem, kel chai v'kayim, you exist forever and ever. Ato melech. You know, the great battle in Parshas Shemos, Ve'era Boy, we're in Parshas Boy now. The great battle between Klal Yisrael and Mitzrayim was really the battle between Paroi and Moshe. It was a microcosm of the great battle between Klal Yisrael and the Mitzrayim. And what was the battle? What were the terms of the battle? Moshe Rabbeinu was an Onav Mikol Adam Shalpnei Adama. He was the humblest of the humble. He was so humble, he was even more humble than Avram Avinu. Chazal say Avram Avinu said, "Ve'anoichi offer va'efer." I'm just offer an efer. But what did he say? What did Moshe Rabbeinu say? What am I? I'm not even offer. I'm not an efer. I'm nothing. He was the great Onav. He is the one that Hashem said, go and take Klal Yisrael out. And he argued with Hashem for 7 days. And at the end of the 7 days, what does he say? Shlach no b'yatishlach. Send anyone but me. I can't talk. I can't speak. They're after me. They want to kill me. Aaron is going to feel upset. He's going to feel bad. What are you? I'm nothing. Moshe Rabbeinu was the greatest Onav in history. The greatest Onav in history. Who is the greatest Baal Gaiva in history? The greatest Baal Gaiva, the haughtiest person that ever lived, was a man by the name of Parai. Or Ramses II. Who knows? Parai. Parai was the greatest Baal Gaiva in history. He is a man who could not even admit that he had to go to the bathroom. You imagine Baal Gaiva? He had to go secretly because he had to pretend that he made the Nile River. He had to pretend. Could you imagine Nebuch, this guy had to make sure not to drink a lot? Because in the middle of the day, he'd go crazy. This poor guy. But his Gaiva made it that he couldn't admit he had to go to the bathroom. He is the same person who said, Mi Hashem asher eshma b'koiloi. Who is Hashem? Who's God? Who's God? And even if you say, oh, he's mighty and powerful, I'm not going to send him out anyways. The greatest Baal Gaiva in all of history. And Hashem throws one makkah after the next. Again, nothing. Harden my heart. The greatest anav against the greatest balgaiva. That's really what's going on here. And the great history of the Jewish people will always be the adversarial relationship between Klal Yisrael's mission that needs anivus and Mitzrayim, or Spain, or Germany, the Aryan nation, who believed they were so great, the superior race. The greatest Balgaiva versus the greatest Anav. When we understand that that's the terms, we understand a beautiful pasuk. Very beginning of Shmos, it says, "Vayakam melech chadash al Mitzrayim asher lo yada es Yosef." What do you mean? He didn't know Yosef? A new king came. What do you mean? Yosef was a legend. Everyone knew Yosef. Yosef saved Mitzrayim. No. You know what it means? He didn't know Yosef's mahalach. He didn't understand Yosef's way of looking at the world, because Yosef would say, "Be'ez Hashem, I need Hashem." B'siyata d'shmaya, like we write on the top of each paper that we write. B'siyata d'shmaya. Here comes the man, Asher lo yada es Yosef. He did not know Yosef's way, that Hashem deserves the credit. It all comes from Hashem. We say, each of the prakim in Kabbalah Shabbos refer to a day of the week. When we say Mizmor LaDavid, Kol Hashem B'Koyach, Kol Hashem B'Adar, Kol Hashem Shover Arozim. What Shorash? The voice of Hashem breaks cedars. The Arizal says, what cedars? Kings, great kings. Kol Hashem B'nei Elam, these are the tzaddikim. Hashem is mashpil gei magbia shavam. Hashem is so great that when we see things we don't understand, vayidem Aaron, we don't say anything. We're quiet, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu rules this world, and we don't know when our basement's going to flood, when it's going to be 100 degrees or 0 degrees, whether we're going to wake up with a cold, whether we're going to wake up with a parnasa, we don't know. So that's step number one. On one hand, we look at Hashem and we say, wow, look at this world. Look at this galaxy. Look at the 100 billion galaxies in the world. Look at how vast everything is. Who am I? What am I? That's one way that we look at everything. But there's a flip side. There's an opposite way of looking at the world, and that opposite way is just as Jewish. And you know what the opposite way is? The opposite way is Kol ma shebara HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo nivra ele b'shvili nivra ha'olam. The whole world is made for every person sitting here. The whole world is kedai for me. Now, how do we understand this mixed message? The whole world is worth it for me? Me? You don't know me. If you know me, you know it wouldn't be worth it for me. Believe me, the world could be just fine without me. What does that mean? The whole world is worth it for me. And how do we understanding how great Hashem is, and the great shliach of Torah is somebody who says, "V'anoichi ma," I'm nothing. And Torah is given on a little Har Sinai, small mountain, quietness, shveilus, anivus, shvili nivra olam. The world is worth it for me. So I'm going to tell you a beautiful klal, and this rule is used for everything in Judaism. The world, outside the world works with extremes. You're either a balgaiva or you're an anav. You're either a liar or you tell the truth. You're either pro-life or you are pro the death penalty. Right? You're pro one of the two. You can't mix the two. Judaism, and the Judaism you grew up with, always finds a way to take both extremes and present them to us. It's fascinating. You have Tisha B'Av, which is the saddest day, And yet, it's called an Eicha Mayed. Kara Alai Mayed. It's called a Mayed. There are halachas of Mayed on Tisha B'Av. So how does that work? It's a Mayed, it's a happy day, it's a sad day. Chasana, the greatest happiness. Whoever's Mesameach Chasim V'Kal Kila Bana Achas Mirchurvas Yerushalayim, what do? We break the cup. Not Mazel Tov. Break the cup. Yimashkocheich. Sadness. Happy, sad. Which one is it? We value life. We value life so much that Pikuach Nefashos overrides even Shabbos. And yet, Purim time comes up, and we hang little gallows on our front lawn with little dolls of Haman. How do we view life? Is life sacred? Is it not sacred? Almost any example you give me, I will show you how we play both sides of the coin. Tznius, it's tznius. But you're still supposed to look elegant. You're still supposed to look good. You can't have a kesem on your baguette. You can't look like a shlach. Because I'll say, a Talmud Chacham sheish like kesem al big day, chayav misa. Do you know chayav misa? You've got a kesem, you got to look nice. You got to look dignified. You got to be tzniustik. You got to be modest, but you got to look nice. Right? You have to be clean. We try to balance both sides. And what's so beautiful is, it's not because we are bipolar. It's not because we don't understand. What are we, against life? Are we for life? Are we for sneers? Don't lie. But if you ask, is the kala nice? Say kala nova chasuda. If you want to tell the emes, is that the emes? That is the emes, but it's not. But it is. In this case, it is. How do you balance these? What Torah says is that actually you need both to get the proper picture. And let me give you the example of Anivas. We are very humble. We're supposed to be humble. And what is the greatest humbleness that we have? We are Meshabed Libenu Lo'avinu Shabbat Shamayim. Hashem is our Melech. We are called Hashem's Eved. Is that humble? Or is it the greatest pride that we can have? You see, the humbleness is the pride. Very often, you need both in order to get the full picture. It's the fact that Hashem runs this big world that gives me value as a human being. Without Hashem, without understanding that Hashem makes those floods and that cold and that hurricane and He controls life and death, without understanding that, then my gaiva is misplaced. But if I understand how great Hashem is, then I understand Hashem needed me. I have one of my son's daughter-in-laws, they're expecting a baby. So I just turned to them and I said, do you understand what Hashem is saying? Hashem is saying, by the way, I trust you to raise a life. What? A lot of people don't trust somebody to watch their car. I trust you to watch my car. Okay, don't drive it, but watch it. I trust you with a life. Here, pick this life and bring up this life the way that you can see fit, but do a good job. I trust you with a life. What a charge. What an achrayus. What a responsibility. But it's only because we know how great Hashem is. It's only because we understand our limitations that becomes our source of pride and our source of gaiva. When Eliezer walked around, he said, Eved Avram Anoichi. Was he being humble or was he being a Baal Gaiva? Both. By saying Eved Avram Anoichi, he says, I'm an Eved, but it's Avram's Eved. I can be both. This is just in general a balancing act that Judaism has when it comes to literally everything. We're not extremists. We're realists, and we blend the most beautiful blend of every kind of midah. That's why there is no bad midah that's empirically bad. Anger can be used for good. Even hatred, Oyavei Hashem sinura, even hatred can be used for good. Okay, that's just an agav dika idea. But let me get back to our own individual gaiva. there's an issue. The issue is that when the secular person or even the religious person looks at the vastness of the universe, they feel worthless. They feel so small. The universe, for those of you that have studied science or physics, you know this universe is far, far, far larger than any of us can picture. I'll give you one idea, one concept. From here to the sun is 93 million miles. How close is it from here to the nearest star? The nearest star to us. How close is the nearest star? There's about 100 billion stars in our galaxy. The one is right next to us. How close is the closest star? So here, I'll give you an image. It'll break your brain. And if your brain can be broken, here we go. If 93 million miles equals the thickness of a piece of paper, that means, take a piece of paper, the thickness of that piece of paper equals 93 million miles. How thick would the paper have to be to reach the first star? How thick would the paper? With every slice being 93 million miles. Okay, you got the question? How thick would the paper have to be? Every page 93 million. How thick would that book have to be? And how thick it would have to be? It would have to be 70 feet tall. With every slice equal to 93 million miles. 70 feet tall, that's the closest star in our tiny little galaxy, because our galaxy is only one galaxy in a group of galaxies called the local group. And there are about 100 billion galaxies. So when people hear this, they think, wow, what are we? What am I? I'm like 5 foot something rabbi, right? Tall, short, live a short life, right? The whole thing goes by in a blink. You get old, you lose the eyesight. Get a little bit older, you lose the teeth. Get older, you get your surgeries, right? All goes by in a blink. You got like 20 great years, let's be honest, right? Maybe 25 to 45. They said when you're 40, you get your first minor surgery. 50, you get your first major one. I'll be 50 this month. I'm looking forward. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. And we look at this vastness of the universe and the cosmos and the planets, and it can make a person shrink into nothingness, and we think I'm nothing. And yet, if you look in the entire universe that we know, which is at least 93 billion light years across, which is a number that you cannot possibly wrap your head around, probably the greatest thing that exists anywhere is the human brain that's sitting inside of your head between your two ears. That's the greatest thing that we know about in the universe. There's certainly nothing like that. So, how is it that we are able to feel a sense of pride for who we are and yet remain humble? That's the great challenge of being a Yid. It's the great challenge. And I want to tell you, this challenge pervades everything. I'll tell you why. We struggle, each of us, on whatever level we are on, with issues of self-esteem. We do. We have issues with self-esteem when it comes to our bodies. We feel good, we don't look good. There's my good side. My mother used to say, take a picture of my good side, what side? My good side, my not good side. We struggle with issues of intellect. I have a friend who's so much smarter. She was better in school. I have friends who are popular. They were the cool kids in class. They were the ones who everyone wanted to be their friend. I wasn't among those people, so I don't know what it's like. We get older, And we struggle with the self-esteem. This friend already got married. This one got married early. This is already on her second kid. And can't even find, I haven't been read a shidduch in months and second kid. And you feel like, oh, well, why don't people want me? I did everything right. I checked off all the boxes. People accomplishing in their career. They wanted to write a book. Your friend wanted to write a book. She wrote a book. You always wanted to, but you never did. Friend learned an instrument. You always wanted to, but you never did. Or maybe your friend comes from a family that you wish you had come from because maybe your family wasn't as functional. There are so many reasons to feel inadequate. And this gnaws at us, and it eats away at us, and it pushes us down, and it handicaps who we were supposed to be and what we could be. And maybe it doesn't help to hear that we're a tiny speck in a magnificent but humongous universe. So how do we balance being so hard on ourselves, comparing ourselves, and yet not go the other extreme and suddenly say, well, I'm great, I'm fantastic, I'm wonderful? How do we balance that? You know, there are certain people out there who are kind, but their kindness is a little bit strange. I once came with my wife. We were invited to an older couple. It was a former roommate of mine's mother. She invited my wife and I. We had just been married. And she invited us for dinner. Very nice dinner. It was in Borough Park. We came. We ate by this lady's house. And she served the soup. And then she said, "You like the soup?" We said, "Oh, it's delicious." "No, you don't really like it, do you?" "Oh, no, it's delicious." "It's too hot?" "No, not too hot. It's not hot enough, right?" No. You want too much salt, right?" "No, it's the most delicious soup we ever had, ever in the world history. It's amazing." "What about the carrots? We'll serve carrots." "Yes, the carrots." And the whole meal went like this, and we were trying not to giggle. It was the funniest thing, but it wasn't so funny because she was she needed so much validation that she was an adequate host. But it's more than that. There are people in the world who have the ability to make other people happy. They can make other people happy, and this could be somebody you're married to, or it could be a sibling, or it could be a best friend, and they are happy when they're around you. You give them their happiness. But there's a little bit something that's lacking. What's lacking is you want you to be the one to give them their happiness. It can't be anyone else that gives them the happiness. And the opposite, it will make you feel jealous if someone else, another friend, can satisfy their need for companionship, happiness, love. Yes, I want them to be happy, but I want them to be happy because I was the one who made them happy. I don't want them to be happy on their own. I want them to be happy in general. Sometimes I do some counseling. I'm not an official therapist. They come, I always make that disclaimer. I'm not a therapist. You can speak to me as a lay person, but they still come, so I talk. And we do counseling, and sometimes I have couples come and they want help keeping their marriage together, and sometimes it's not meant to be together. And by the way, for those of you listening on Torah Anytime, just because a marriage doesn't work out doesn't mean you have to become an enemy. Try to stay friends. Try to do it amicably. Try whatever way you can. It's terrible. It's like World War VII. But if you really like that person, but the marriage didn't work out, your personalities just didn't connect, be happy when that person finds happiness in a second marriage that maybe is somebody who's compatible to them. Be happy when your friends go off to seminary and they find another best friend that can make them happy. You're not in the same seminary, so let them find another friend. Be happy for them regardless of whether it's you who are the one who makes them happy. Because that's what it means to love somebody. Loving somebody means that you want them to be happy regardless of whether you're the one that does it. But often, the reason that that's the case, that we want it to be from us, is because we're missing self-love. And this is at the heart of what I want to speak about tonight. How is it that we can feel good about ourselves and yet still understand there is a Borei Olam who is so great and mighty that I'll humble myself before them, but I still have self-love, I still have worth, even when I've done Averas, even when I've slipped, even when I've fallen. Let me start off by saying that many of us struggle with this concept. And our love of ourselves are so tied in to the next person, to my relationships with other people, feeling loved from other people, that I have nothing if they leave. Here's how I want you to picture it. Picture a tabletop. There's a tabletop. And the tabletop is supported by legs. The tabletop is you. You're the top of that table. Your well-being is the tabletop. That's your steadiness. That's your solidness. And your solidness sits on these legs. And each of these legs represents another relationship. So one relationship is between you and your parents. Another one is between you and your spouse, or maybe you and the person you're dating. Another of those relationships are you and your close friends, you and your chevra. That's great. But there's a danger. The danger is that when you lose one of those relationships, you lose a leg of that table, and the table becomes wobbly and it can't collapse. And when your entire well-being depends on another person's happiness, and you being that connection to that happiness, so when that person leaves, even for a short amount of time, even if they're going on vacation for a few months, you feel wobbly. Your security blanket is gone. So what do we do to remain steady in life? What we do is we anchor those legs to make sure they don't leave us. And there are a lot of ways psychologically that we anchor those relationships. The unhealthy way is to create fear in those relationships, right? You leave me, your life is over. You leave me, you'll never find love. You'll never find connection. You'll never find somebody like me. Other ways that people anchor it is you make yourself so indispensable that you say, they need me in their lives. I'm always there for them. And when we do that to our friends, we create an anchor around the leg to make sure that the leg doesn't collapse. So we anchor our legs, and here's why that doesn't work. Because one day, the legs are going to leave regardless. They will. There is such a thing in this world called death. People die. People do move away. They do leave. They have their own lives. They do go on vacations. There's no way in the world for you to secure the legs that hold up the table. And that's very scary. Because how in the world can you feel good if the legs of the table are eventually going to leave? So I want to give you an image. You're picturing that table, right? Not if you get it. Picture the table. You got the legs. Don't look at the legs. What I want you to do is I want you to build one big fat leg in the middle. It's not just a leg. It's like a pedestal. And that pedestal is sitting in the middle of the table. It's very firmly anchored. And that pedestal is called self-love. And that pedestal does not rely on other people. and other people's happiness and other people's validation and other people's connection. Those are all great. They look nice, those extra legs. Maybe they're a good backup. They're not pointless. They serve a very good point in your life. But you cannot ultimately rely on anything but that pedestal in the middle, where you realize that it's you, loving you, accepting yourself, knowing how valuable you are as a person, that will remain even when people in your life eventually disappear. It's a beautiful story with the Ponte Vecchio. Ponte Vecchio was traveling, and he saw he traveled to a country with very few Yidden, very few Jewish people, and there was a Jew over there. There was a Yid over there, and he sees this Yid. It's not a religious Jew, but this non-religious Jew sees the rabbi with the beard. He comes over and says, "Kvod Harav, ani Yehudi. I'm a Jew." So the Ponte Vecchio looks at him and gives him a hug and a kiss. Oh, a fellow Yid all the way out here in this country where nobody else is. And then this Fry Yid looks at him and says, "If you would know how many Averas I did, you wouldn't kiss me." And the Ponte Vecchio said back, "If you would know how much Hashem loves you, you wouldn't do those Averas." We don't understand what value we have in Hashem's eyes. Bishvili nivra olam. So I want to give you a few exercises to take away any kind of negativity that we have. Either people who have taken a part of themselves that we used to be connected to and have pulled away. Baruch Hashem, I have 11 children. And I have a few girls, teenagers. And I've learned a little bit about teenage drama. More than I ever thought I would know. Teenage politics and friendships and cliques and which group you belong to. I'm learning it all. And then when you get a phone call where you're breaking up, I never understood. How do you break up? You're not married? No, I guess you guys know what I'm doing. The breakup call. I don't think we should be friends anymore. Well, we can talk. We can talk. We just can't be best friends anymore. But what are we? How am I going to look at you tomorrow in school? Okay, we'll smile, and we're not going to not talk. We're going to talk, but we're just not going to be best friends talk. Right? I hear stuff like this. It's very bizarre to me. And I see my kids, dissolve into tears. What happened with a friend? And she'll be my friend, but only if I'm only her friend, but not if I'm her friend. If I'm her friend, then she can't be my friend because she doesn't want a third person part of the friendship. Tough life. These kids have it tough in high school, right? Aren't you glad you're finished with high school? Right? Baruch Hashem for that. But what is it? You give the kid their own self-love. You tell the kid, you're amazing. She doesn't want to be your friend. It's her loss. He doesn't want to be your chavrusa. It's his loss. You have your own atzmiistikkeit, your own beautiful self-worth. So the first thing I want you to do is that when you hear something that makes you feel uncomfortable, or you want to jump in, or you want to go negative, or you want to do something, you want to beat yourself up. There's a little psychological exercise. I can explain to you how it works, but try it, okay? This is Psychology 101. When something is presented to you that makes you begin to feel negative and down on yourself, roll your eyes and hum a tune. It works. You should use the same tune. I heard somebody who did this. He used to use Happy Birthday. What it does, you probably wonder, what am I talking about? Like, just like that. You roll your eyes, and when something negative is hitting you, just roll your eyes. It works because when you create a pattern of negativity that beats yourself up, you always go to the same place of negativity in your brain. And when you go to that same place, your eyes always go to the same direction. That's why people who want to know if you're lying, they're experts. They look, did your eyes go up left? Did your eyes go up right? Did your eyes dilate? They know exactly, because your eyes go to a certain direction when you're going back to a memory. But you could scramble your memory by making your eyes not go in that direction. And it reprograms your brain. It's very, very interesting. When you sing a tune, this is just a little psychology, but the reason that I tell you this is that you have to do battle against this negativity, because the negativity is what makes you feel worthless. The negativity is what makes you feel like, my friends were right, I'm not lovable, I don't look the nicest, I'm not the prettiest, I'll never find my shidduch, I'll never amount to anything, I won't get the guy that I want to marry, somebody's going to, and all my friends, but I'm not going to. The negativity that will destroy us and becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, you've got to take that away. And the second thing it says that you should do in psychology, and I totally agree with this, is each night, go in front of the mirror, look at yourself and say, even though so-and-so thinks I'm this, I'm really excellent. And start with the words, even though. Even though so-and-so made fun of me today, even though my boss totally does not appreciate the hard work and doesn't see my value, but I know I'm really awesome. And you look a little crazy talking to yourself. That's okay. But you need to reprogram your thought process. I cannot tell you how many people I sit in front of and I feel like they need hugs. They need validation. They need somebody to say, you're awesome. If you would see in you what I see in you, you'd feel like $1 million. But you don't see yourself the way the rest of the world sees you. You know, there are people out there who everyone knows are incredibly talented. And they're charismatic. And they've got all sorts of talents to give the world. And they're always beating themselves up. And they think they're inadequate. And you look at them and say, are you crazy? Are you not seeing what we're seeing? But they don't. They literally don't. Because we are our worst enemy. And if you leave tonight and you're able to look in the mirror and tell yourself, I am amazing, I am good, and even for all my faults, bishvili nivra elam. How in the world did Moshe Rabbeinu, who said, "V'anochi ma, shlachna b'yad tishlach," how did he have the gall to stand in front of Parai and to tell Parai off? How do those two things mesh? How do you have the most humble person stand up in front of kings and princes and speak his mind and speak to Hashem and go up on the mountain and speak to Klal Yisrael? It's because the combination of understanding how wonderful and great Hashem is that we understand that we have value. It is Hashem's greatness that by osmosis goes down to us. Like it says in Pirkei Avos, Chavivin Adam Shenivru B'Tselem Elokim. People are beloved because Hashem, the one who created the nebula and the stars and the cosmos and the comets and the galaxies, decided that you were worth creating. You really were. There's a famous saying, I think they say it in the name of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I don't know who it's in the name of, but the saying is a beautiful saying, that a person's birthday is the day that Hashem decided that the world cannot go on without them. That's why your birthday is so amazing. Because on that day Hashem said, my world can't continue if you're not in it. We need you in this world. So that's number 2. Look in the mirror and say, I am awesome. Don't worry. You don't have to have anyone in the room when you do it. Tell it to yourself. But say it. You're allowed to. Mirrors, we know, we're in the Mishkan. Mirrors can be used for a halakha purpose as well. There's a halakha purpose. Chazal say that when it says "Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamecha," you have to love yourself in order to love the next person. If you don't love who you are, then you can't love the next person. You have to say, I'm awesome. I'm fantastic. There's nobody like me. I am unique. What I bring to this world is unique. I'm unique in my family. I was unique in my class. I'm unique in my workplace. And there's a guy out there who's going to marry me because they will see that I am unique. There's nobody like me in the world. Nobody brings the combination of Rahmanas and insight and beautiful cheshek to grow close to Hashem. Nobody brings my combination. Number 3, you want to become this awesome person? Think about the person that you least want to give your love to. The person that maybe hurt you in your life. The person that was not there for you. The person that did not realize your value. Maybe put you down. It's a mind exercise. And picture in your mind being happy for them. Picture in your mind there was a man who was dating a young lady, and they were dating for much longer than usually we date them from community, but he figured she was worth it. It's kedai, because when she says yes, it's going to be what a chasana, what a shidduch it's going to be. But then the longer they dated, the more they saw that ashkafically they were not on the same page. And they both decided together that, the end of one of their dates, they decided it's a no-go. But they had been dating for quite a few months. And they had grown emotionally close to each other. But they knew ashkafically there were going to be issues. And as they were saying goodbye in what they knew would be the last date, she broke down. She began to cry. She had gotten that emotionally connected. It could happen. You get emotionally connected to a person, even if you're not yet married. You feel like you've told them a lot about yourself. You've exposed your emotions to them. It can be vulnerable. She began to cry. And the bacher wasn't sure what to do. He also felt bad, but he didn't feel bad enough to cry. But he wanted to show her that he did feel bad enough to cry, but he couldn't make any tears come. So you know what to do. These mind games are awful. He says goodbye, and she's weeping. It's goodbye. Bye. He goes home, and he's sort of relieved that it was over. But then, that night, he began thinking of that this almost worked. This was almost the shidduch. And he began thinking back on it and thinking. And all of a sudden he found himself getting emotional himself. And he began to cry. And then he was upset at himself. Oh, I wish she was here to see me cry. I want her to see me cry. I want her to see that crazy mind games. And then, a few weeks later, he was with a friend. The friend said, I see it must have been over, right? She said, so the bacher said, yeah, we had to end it. So the guy says, I know, because I was on a shidduch date in a hotel, and I saw this person propose to the girl. So, obviously I knew it was over because she just got engaged. And he said, I even asked if I could take a picture. It was such a nice moment. And they let me. So this guy said, can I see the picture? Bad idea, right? Can I see the picture? If this girl I almost got engaged is being engaged to somebody else. So he sees the picture. And, she's, I guess he's like one knee. I don't know what he was doing. But he was proposing. And she was there with this great big smile on her face. And he was so upset. This guy, so why is she smiling? I'm probably a much better guy than that guy is. She would have been better off with me. But I was the one who said no, and he was tortured. And then he realized You know why it didn't work? Because it wasn't her that he was developing love with. He was developing love with himself. Because it was her that he really had feelings for. If he really loved her in the way that Ish and Isha are supposed to, then if he realized that hashkafically they're not meant to be together, but he should be so happy that she found happiness. He should be happy when he sees, oh, what a great girl. Baruch Hashem, she's happy. No, he wanted to be her. He's got to be the cause of her happiness. He was happy when she cried because it showed that it was him that made her happy, and now she's sad. And he wanted her to see him cry so that she would know that, no, it was really my happiness. It was all selfish. So when we could think about anyone else, even somebody who has not been geschmack to us, and just wish them happiness, be happy for their happy, not because it came from you, but just because it came from them, then you have freed yourself of all the legs of the table. Now it is you generating your own happiness. It is your self-worth, and you don't need validation from this person or that person. And there's a bonus. There's a bonus. You know what the bonus is? If you can be happy with another person's happiness that has nothing to do with you, then you can have happiness from the whole world. Because most of the world has happy occasions, and they don't have to come from you. They can just be happy. And I'm happy that you're happy. I am besimcha when a yid makes money. I am happy when you ate a steak dinner. If you go into a restaurant and someone else is enjoying their meal, I hope it's geschmack. I hope you enjoyed, not because I made it for you. I have nothing to do. I don't even know your name. But I want you to be happy. When you go around with Shefa as the person who I have my own happiness, I love myself because I am awesome. So now your happiness makes me happy. And your happiness is not one of my legs. Your happiness is independent. So I'll be happy for you. And I don't need you for my happiness, and you don't need me for yours. It's an incredibly healthy way of looking at the world. Why doesn't this happen? So it doesn't happen often because we hear things that are negative and they ring in our brains. They remind us of other people who put us down, of other difficult things that happened in our life. And we go back to those times when we were hurt. And this just puts icing on that cake. This just puts layer upon layer of hurt. So what I want to do is I want to tell you that there are ways of dealing with hurt. And you have to learn how to deal with it and not to hold on to it. So number one, emunah. Emunah, I know you've heard it. Baruch Hashem, since Rabbi Arusha's book came out, The Garden of Emunah, everyone's talking about emunah. We still don't talk about it enough. And I say we don't talk about it enough because we need emunah to get to our cars after this talk. We need emunah for everything. I just saw the most beautiful idea. Beautiful, I just love this. There was a person who was looking to make parnasa, and he was working and he got fired, and then he tried to get another job, and he couldn't get another job. Every time he tried to get a job, they weren't hiring him. He went to his Rav, and this Rav, they're not hiring me, I can't make parnasa. What am I going to do? This guy's not hiring me. And the Rav says, I got a question for you. Do you get mail? He says, of course I get mail. You get mail? You get mail in your mailbox? What do you mean? Of course, mail. He says, of course. Does anything important ever come in your mail? Of course. I get bills. I get checks in the mail. I get a lot of very important things in the mail. So the Rav says, great. And let me ask you, what's the name of your mailman? I don't know. What do you mean? Don't you get important things? I mean, there are things that are really important. You get a letter from the IRS, you got to open it. You get a check, you want to cash it. So this is the guy in charge of giving you this information. What's the mailman's name? I don't know. So you trust him, but you never even found out his name? No. The Rabbi says, of course not. The main thing is that you get the mail. Who the mailman is, you don't care. It could be Joe, it could be Tom, it could be Tim. As long as you get your mail. Says the Rav, all you care about is making your parnasa. So whether it comes from that mailman, this boss, that boss, the boss named Joe, the boss named Tom, doesn't make a difference. Hashem can deliver your mail through any mailman that he wants. So number one, you have to have emunah. Emunah means that even things that you've been through that are difficult, Hashem had a reason that you had to go through them. And instead of looking back and allowing it to be what we like to call today baggage that gives me anxiety, that causes depression, that weighs me down, instead I take that experience and I say, you know what? That was tough when it lasted. But you see, I'm still standing. You see, Hashem still loves me. You see, I'm going through it, and even if I'm going through it right now, I've been through things in the past that have been difficult, and I'm still standing, so I'll get past this one as well. Number one, you want to have self-esteem. You can't hold on to the baggage. You have to say it's emunah, SHM Ice. That's number one. Number two, you have to remove yourself from poisonous environments. I cannot say this enough. This is at least half of my counseling. I say this at some point because people don't understand that who you're around can affect you. And they don't have to be Rishaim. They don't have to be Balei Lashon Hara. They could just be poisonous for you. For whatever reason, they're not good for you. You feel bad when you're around them. You don't feel like your best self. So remove yourself. Remove yourself. Some people are on social media and they get bombarded. Remove yourself. There was a man who used to make videos on YouTube, and the videos were supposed to be very inspiring. And he did it to inspire people. But you know, on YouTube, you could add comments. So a lot of the comments he got was amazing, amazing. But a few people would write very nasty things. And he said, I would read those nasty things, and it would get me down. And it was an addiction. I wanted to see what they say. But when I see it, it'll get me down. So don't see it. Someone has something nasty to say, don't read it. I used to have a friend who actually was one of these people who are poisonous people, and sometimes things would get to him, and he would yell and scream, and he'd be on the phone, and I would just go like this, and it'll listen. I don't need poison going into my brain, into my heart, pumping my blood pressure. So you gotta watch, make sure you're around people who are healthy for you. No excuses. One of the girls that was at my house this week, she said, I work at a veterinarian's office, and everyone around there, they're backstabbing people. She didn't understand the concept of Lashon Hara, but she knew about gossip. She says, that's how they while away their time by speaking about each other. I said, get out of there. She said, it hurts me. I said, you got to get out of there. It's affecting you terribly. Number three, sometimes Hashem wants us to hear something because there's a lesson to be learned. So learn the art of taking the lesson while leaving the negativity behind. This is greatness. This is greatness. If you could hear the lesson that the people who are negative about you tell you, if you could hear it, and you hear their negativity, and you say, the negativity, I'm not goyrus. But the ideas that they said, maybe they're valid. I'll learn from it. But I'm not going to let it destroy me. They're just a messenger. They're just a mailman telling me something. But I'm going to hear this. But the negativity, that's that person's issue. It's that person's problem. You have to combat this. Otherwise, there's no way in the world that you can serve Hashem properly. Because you can't be healthy. Because you're beating yourself up. And when you beat yourself up, you can't love yourself. And if you can't love yourself, then you're going to rely on other people to love you. And those are shaky legs. Understand Hashem made the world. And by making the world and making you in it, Hashem thought, Bishvilech nivra olam, the world is created for you. You're awesome. That's it. You're the pillar in the middle. You're the pedestal in the middle. Other people will come and go in your life. You'll be warm and friendly, but you're never going to lean on them to the point that if they leave, it'll destroy you. And you'll let whatever negativity they've given you slide off your back. One last point, then we'll end with a story. You have to be aware that sometimes you can be the cause of that negativity to another person. And it's a huge achrayus. Until now, we were speaking about other people being negative to you in the past, making you feel inadequate and low. So when you look in the mirror, you don't see somebody who's a special person, who's a person who's worth loving. But sometimes it's us who are the negative people. And sometimes it's that cycle of negativity that we have experienced that we're just conveying to the next person. And sometimes the people who are hurt the most are the people who are closest to us, our parents, our spouses, and our children. Just like we understand that there is nothing that feels better than being loved, nothing. Feeling respected means feeling loved. If people respect you, it means in your mind you translate that as they love me. Just like we understand that feeling loved is so critical, to the people around us, they need to feel loved as well. And we have the ability to affect our relatives, the people who are closest to us, in a much deeper way than just a stranger. A stranger who's driving next to you, who doesn't like the fact that you didn't jump the moment the light turned green, so they honk, honk, honk. That's annoying. That's New York. But you don't know them, they don't know you. Weiter gegangen. But a relative, a sibling, a spouse, it cuts very, very deep. It's the reason that in Ayin Hara, a relative can make a much greater Ayin Hara on you than a stranger. Strangers have very little power of Ayin Hara, but relatives have an incredibly big power of Ayin Hara. It is the closeness that could love the most, and because it could love the most, it could also hurt the most when the love is not there. So be aware of your achrayus, and midah keneged midah. By you showing other people that love and being machshav them and being happy for them, not because it was me who did it, but because that's who you are as a metziastic person. You want people to be happy? Then k'mayim panim, they will love you back. And you will feel that sense of serenity, that you're living the kind of life where you love yourself, you're worth loving, but then all around you, people are going to feel it, and they're going to derive from that love their sustenance, and they're going to grow from it. And if in the past you've been hurt, take this idea. It's an idea that works. Emotion is not logic. And if you say, oh, that person hurt me, but it's okay, doesn't work. Those are words. Words work with logic. Emotion works with action. It's two different things. If you want to get rid of an emotion, you can't be talked out of it. It's like somebody saying, oh, don't be sad. Don't be sad. Be happy. It's not going to make you happy. You have to do something emotionally that makes you happy. So on a very visceral level, one of the things that you do is when you feel down, when you find yourself being plagued with negative thoughts about yourself, you know what you should do? Stand up. Walk around. Splash water on your face. Stretch. It's amazing, But psychologically, action can take away emotion. So if you're feeling emotionally, oh, I'm feeling so bad, but don't feel bad. Okay, I won't. It doesn't work. You know how you don't? You jump up out of your seat and you go jogging around the block, or you go talk to a friend on the phone while walking. You move. That's why people get something called a runner's high, or they like going to the gym, or they like working out, because it's a way to emotionally shed negativity. So you get up there. It's another little idea I think of when I think of the words shinui makam, shinui mazel. Right? It's little, it means exactly that, but we feel like we have a bad mazel. Change your makam, get up, stretch, walk around. And then if you really, really want to get rid of the negativity, what action should you take? So there's an action in psychology called pouring. And what you do is you take a pen and a paper or a keyboard and a computer, and you just begin to type all the feelings that you're feeling and why you're feeling it and all that negativity. Just get it out there. Take it from inside your heart, get it on the paper, get it in the computer, get it elsewhere. And when you're finished, take a little match, burn it up. Because action can get rid of emotion. Words can tackle logic. But emotions, words don't work. You need an action. This is an action called pouring. And if you have somebody in your life in the past who was negative to you, that is still sitting somewhere around your heart, around your brain, that you keep going back to. Maybe they were a bully, maybe they were a big shot, maybe they were condescending, maybe they kept you out of the crowd that you wanted to be in school. Whatever they were, maybe they're a sibling, maybe they're a parent. Pour it onto a paper. Visualize that it's leaving you and it's going onto this paper and this keyboard, and then throw it into the recycle bin. Burn it up. Destroy it. I'll finish with this story. One of my favorite. There was a person who went to a Rav and said to the Rav, you know, I'm never going to be holy, but I so badly want to meet Eliyahu Hanavi. How am I ever going to meet Eliyahu? Tzaddikim meet Eliyahu Hanavi. I'm never going to meet Eliyahu. And the Rav says, you want to meet Eliyahu? I'll help you meet Eliyahu Hanavi. You'll help me? Who am I? I'm going to meet Eliyahu? Yeah, you'll meet Eliyahu Hanavi. Go to that town. It's a little distance away, but go there. Go to their house for Shabbos, and you'll meet Eliyahu Hanavi. Really? Yes, go to them. That's where Eliyahu Hanavi is going to be this Shabbos. I'm giving you a secret. Go and you'll meet Eliyahu Hanavi there. Okay? So he listens to the Rav. He goes to this distant town, knocks on the door. A lady opens up. He says to the lady, hello, I'm here for Shabbos. Can I come for Shabbos? He didn't want to say about Eliyahu. He'll sound crazy. But he says, can I come here for Shabbos? And the lady says, why would you want to come here? We don't have much of a Shabbos going on here. I mean, we keep Shabbos, but, you know, we don't have a nice Shabbos. We don't have a fancy Shabbos. The man said, that's okay. I'd like to come. Is that okay? The lady says, okay, come on in. Comes in, he looks around. The house is a dump. The kids look a little bit dirty. Cupboards look sparse, bare, the floor. Then he looks around, and usually Shabbos, you smell Shabbos. Didn't smell, looks around. What's going on? Then he realized they can't afford food for Shabbos. He thinks, you know what's going to happen? Eliyahu Hanavi is going to come. It'll look like a nothing in the house. It'll look terrible. You can't greet Eliyahu Hanavi like this. The Rav says, this Shabbos is really. So he runs out to the Makolet, and he buys food for Shabbos. And he says, here's chicken. Make a chicken soup. Here's a salad. This will be nice. Oh, thank you very much. She makes a salad home, and they have a beautiful Shabbos. And the whole Shabbos, he's looking at the door. Okay, Eliyahu Hanavi will come. It's going to be so wonderful, so beautiful. Doesn't show up. He leaves very disappointed. Goes back to his Rav and he says to his Rav, I went, nothing. And the Rav says, Taka, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. It was this week that he's coming. This week? Yeah, I thought it was last week, but he's coming this week. Okay? The Rav says, okay, he made the trip all the way back to the house. He's going to spend another Shabbos there. He's about to open the door when he hears the little boy calling to his mother. And the little boy is calling to his mother. He says, Mommy, it's almost Shabbos. What are we going to eat? We don't have any food for Shabbos. I don't see you cooking. She says, I know, Shefela, we don't have. I know, Shefela. But, maybe Eliyahu Navi will come like he came last week. And he realized that he was Eliyahu. We all have a goyel inside of us. We all have somebody who could redeem the world. We all have an Eliyahu Navi inside of us. So when you go home, there will be nothing that made my trip from Muncie to Lakewood as worthwhile than if somebody goes home, looks in the mirror tonight, and says, I'm absolutely awesome. The whole world, the galaxies were created just for me. Hashem needed me in this world. And I love myself with all my flaws, even though I messed up like this, and even though I haven't been davening with kavanah, and even though I should be better at kibbut avayim, and even though I'm still amazing, I'm still absolutely amazing. And you create that pillar inside, that pillar of self-love, that then can spill over to other people in v'ahavta l'recha kamecha. And we don't rely on other people for our validation and our worth and our love and our companionship and our relationship. But it's me. I will love myself. And anyone who tries to pull you down or tried in the past, you shed that. You shed it. It's not worth it. They were poisoned then, and they're poisoned in your brain right now. And then we can walk that tightrope that a Moshe Rabbeinu walked, by saying, V'anochi ma, I am nothing, and yet, at the same time, I'm everything in the world. Thank you very much.